Entertainment Soldier here, and I am back to talk about Halo Season 2, Episode 4, and my thoughts on this episode. I think the episode was okay. It's not perfect, but it's okay. There are problems, one being one of the deaths in this episode, which is law breaking and kind of proves that the show writers are dumbasses. But the episode as a whole was okay. I enjoyed the street fights. I enjoyed some of the characters. I enjoyed one of the death scenes, which was heartbreaking, but at the same time very heroic. And the episode was fun. It was fun to watch. I didn't get pissed off. So I am kind of surprised. There are unfortunately still a lot of problems in this episode. One being the weapon sounds, which I don't understand why they can't just copy from the games. But, and also, CGI is still a major issue. How the Covenant are acting is also a problem, especially with the elites and how they are fighting. We didn't see any grunts in this episode, which is ridiculous in my opinion. I would also say the uniforms of certain Marines was a bit strange and not canon lore accurate. And we have to talk about the Master Chief's armor being completely thrown out of this episode, which was absolutely stupid and is obviously them trying to cater to the fucking actor to have his face everywhere, which is still stupid. But as a whole, again, I think the episode's okay. I think doing this episode, they should have done this episode in season 1. I think we should have got to this point a lot faster. And if they had done that, I think this series would have actually been a success. Is this too late to save this show? I think it is. I still think the episode, compared to the games, is still very weak. I still think majority of Halo fans have abandoned this show, and what they have left is just not going to be enough to keep this show going. But this episode was okay. I would also mention one of the other death scenes, which I didn't expect to happen, I would say was okay. I think that character should have been in his armor before he died, but how he died, I do respect it. I respect how they let that character go. Is it right for the series? I'm not sure, but it was an okay death. There was a lot of deaths in this episode, but I do want to just mention one of the law-breaking deaths did look stupid. I'll go into more detail about it, and I know I've said this before, but it is law-breaking. That character should not have died in this episode. He has a death from the games that should have been respected. I don't know why these writers are so determined to shit on the games. I don't care about the race change. I really don't. The character was interesting. It could have gone somewhere if they had let it play its course. But to kill him like this, I don't know. I don't think I agree with it. So I just want to get to the rating now. I think this episode was okay. I can't say it's brilliant because of the law-breaking death. I can't say it's brilliant because of the weapon sounds. I can't say it's brilliant because this took too long to get to. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. It's a respectable, it's middle. That's the best I can do for this episode. So it's a 5 out of 10. That's the best I can do. So let's get to the spoilers now. If you don't want to hear spoilers, leave in 3, 2, 1. So the episode starts off with Vanix feeding his birds because he's kind of gone into this whole animal appreciation shit because he's off the drugs and stuff. And whilst he's feeding the pigeons, the attack starts. And so the Covenant are now starting their attack on Reach. Now, my problem with this attack is, why are the Covenant hiding? Why are they acting like terrorists? They should be acting like an invading army. Why are there no dropships? Why are there no banshees flying about? Why is it so secretive? I don't understand why the way the Covenant is acting here. I get how the UNSC is acting. By the way, also, why has Captain Keynes not evacuated civilians by now? Why has he not sent out more and more Marines to kind of push the people to the evacuation areas? I am still kind of struggling with how the Marines are acting here. Most of this episode, listen, I like the fight scenes, I do. But why are they so reactionary to the Covenant? Why are the Covenant hiding? They don't explain this in the episode. This is not how the Covenant act. They don't need to act like this. They're an unstoppable force in this time period of the Human Covenant War. They don't hide, they attack. So we meet back up with the chief and the other woman. They're running through the streets. There's explosions going everywhere. They then run into another street where everybody's just acting really normal, just standing around doing nothing, which is weird. Like, are they not hearing explosions everywhere? And whilst they're walking through, the corporal woman is going around telling people to run. And again, I'm bringing this up. Where are the Marines? Why are they not evacuating right away? Why has Keyes just sat on his hands at this point? I don't know. But whilst they're walking through, John sees a bunch of elites cloaked and then attacks one. They have a big fight with each other. The corporal woman also gives the chief a hand with this guy, with this elite. They kill him. They then, head back to try to get to headquarters so that they can, find out what's going on, what's the plan to deal with the Covenant on Reach. So they're heading there. They then bump into some woman, into some ancient shop, ancient artifacts and shit. She's got a shotgun and puts the shotgun away for some reason. I don't know why. There is an invasion going on. But Perez, that's her name. Perez and the chief, well, Perez is trying to convince this woman that, she has to leave this shop. She has to abandon her life because the Covenant are coming. And as soon as their ships get here, I don't know why they're not there now anyway, but as soon as the ship get there, they're going to glass the planet and destroy everything, and why does this matter? And the chief kind of has to pull her to the side and say, listen, she understands the situation. She doesn't want to abandon her life to become a refugee and just give in to the Covenant. And you can respect that from her. But unfortunately, she is going to die. But the chief kind of knows, listen, she's decided that's the way she wants to go. Let's respect that and let's just move on. So the chief and Perez head out into the street, and wouldn't you know, they just bump into a bunch of Marines and Riz and the blind ex-Spartan. And they're, fighting with the Covenant, shooting. We see finally the battle rifle, and unfortunately my problem with the battle rifle is they seem to be shooting in really weird ways. It's supposed to be a free shot rifle, not a rapid fire rifle. It's a free shot, and some Marines are shooting free shot, some Marines are shooting rapid with it. So that is kind of breaking canon with that rifle. Listen, I would prefer it. I would love it to be a rapid firing rifle. I would, not a free shot. I hate free shot rifles, but in the game, that's how it operates as. So I kind of wish, listen, there are scenes they get it right, but there are scenes where you can see Marines are firing, rapidly with it, and that's just not how that rifle works. So they're running through the city as a group. Raz, the chief, the blind Spartan, Perez. They're fighting with the Covenant. They're going down hallways. The elites are just running at them, with none of them with pistols. or plasma pistols, which is really confusing. The elites are not acting as they usually do. That's normally the grunts that will run in. And why are we not seeing grunts with like 2 grenades in their hands and jumping at Marines? This is the perfect time to show how they actually act, and you're just not doing it right. The elites are not this stupid. They don't just run at the enemy. They are smart, capable warriors. That's why they are called elites, for God's sake. But while this is all happening, back in the base with Dr. Halsey and Soren are trying to escape the base. Where they were, in this kind of garden place, turned out to be a hologram. We all knew it was a hologram, I know. But the hologram deactivates. They see the exit. Soren heads out and Halsey follows him. Halsey knows how to get out of the place, but Soren doesn't really trust her because of their history. But they then see a bunch of soldiers that were killed by plasma weapons, so it turns out the Covenant have got into the main base. Now this makes sense to why the Covenant would, secretly enter a military base. That makes sense. Why they're, cloaked in the city doesn't make sense. That's what I mean by the Covenant not acting like they usually do. So they grab a couple of weapons. Soren grabs a grenade, and then Halsey talks about the time Soren escaped, her base and her lab. Turns out Halsey let him go because he was becoming a problem for the other Spartans because they looked up to him. And when Soren kind of questions it, says, "No, you didn't let me escape," she mentions the fact that she made sure there were no guards on any of the ships so Soren could escape. So it turns out Soren's escape was completely, it was allowed to happen by Halsey. So when they go down one of the hallways, they find Cortana. And then it turns out the Covenant have grabbed Cortana, and it was the Chief's girlfriend. And the Arbiter. Now, my problem with the Arbiter is, why is he not wearing his silver armour? Why is he wearing blue? He's the Arbiter. That is a kind of very important position for an elite. So his outfit should match the games. That's why I keep talking about this. These writers seem to not understand the game and the characters and the outfit. It's fucking stupid. Why is he wearing blue when he should be wearing silver? It's fucking stupid. But yeah, so the Covenant have taken humanity's most important AI. Why didn't Ackerman evacuate Cortana with the rest of the most important people on Reach? This seems pretty stupid to allow the Covenant to take that very important, AI system. It's very stupid. But the elites and the Halo girlfriend woman just let Halsey go. They just leave her. I don't get it. Just kill her or take her. It makes no sense. I know Soren grabbed a grenade and throws it at them, but again, it could have been done a lot better than that. And a grenade is not that fucking powerful. Okay? It's ridiculous. So them two get knocked out for a second. We then go back to John and his group fighting with the Covenant. Again, hallways seen to elites acting like stupid idiots. And in one of the attacks, the blind Spartan's husband gets killed, and Riz doesn't have the heart to tell him that his husband's dead, but he kind of figures it out when he asks where he is. And whilst they're getting attacked by a Wraith, which is acting very weirdly and seems to be firing too fast for a Wraith tank, which I have a problem with, because again, I've played the games, I know how fast a Wraith can fire. It's not like one after the other. It takes a couple of seconds to reload it, then it fires. This tank is firing like repeatedly, too quick. I'm sorry, that is a problem for me. But in this scene, the blind Spartan, he gives up his life and grabs a couple of grenades and sacrifices himself and throws himself at the Wraith and blows it up. I think this is it's a heartbreaking scene, but it's a very heroic way for someone to die. He gave up his life to save the group from that tank, and that was the most heroic death from this series I think I've ever seen. And bravo, I loved it. It's sad to see him go because I kind of like the guy. I thought it was okay, but it was a commendable scene. So yeah. So John and the group get to the main base where there's a bunch of Marines, protecting it, and a lot of civilians in there, where they meet up with Captain Keynes, who is pretty much informing the chief, yeah, the Covenant are attacking. I knew all along about what happened to the other Spartan team. Turned out they got ambushed by the Covenant. Some of them didn't even get a shot off. So he knew about the attack. So why didn't you start evacuating straight away? Like, I get what Ackerman was doing, but if you didn't agree with that, why didn't you start evacuating people on your own? So I kind of think that scene was kind of stupid. That's what I mean by this. The UNSC is just not acting like it usually does. At this point, they would start evacuating people, or at least earlier they would have. But But he also then tells us about the Spartans' armor being evacuated with Ackerman, which is stupid. Why would Ackerman take the chief's uniform? Well, listen, we all know why. They want to have the actor's face out there because that prick cannot deal with wearing a mask. And it's so fucking stupid. So the rest of these episodes, I think, are going to be just John with his face out, which is stupid. We then get a scene where Captain Keynes gives a very good speech to Marines, telling them, listen, you're going to die, but let's die for a reason. Let's fight the Covenant and make sure we get as many civilians out as we can. The Marines get pumped up by this speech, and then Captain Keynes tells John and the other Spartans to head to the bridge to hold off the Covenant whilst they evacuate as many civilians as they can. John grabs an assault rifle, heads down there with a bunch of other Marines where they get supported by a Scorpion tank. And when Captain Keynes also offers to go, fight in the trenches with his men, the chief pulls him aside and says, no, we need good people in charge. You're too important to sacrifice on the battlefield. And I completely agree. You need the captain in the, command structure, not on the field. Otherwise, you're just not going to have a decent defence. So the chief gets to the bridge with the other Spartans and a few Marines with the Scorpion tank. The chief can't see any Covenant yet, so he tells the Scorpion tank to fire a phosphorus shot at the bridge. And when the Scorpion tank does that, you see a shitload of elites running straight to the Marines. And you get a great firefight between them, Scorpion tank firing. It's a fantastic scene. In the hangar where they're evacuating what's left of the civilians in the base on the last transport, Captain Keynes and Perez are preparing to leave. Oh, I completely forgot the other scene. Halsey and Soren bump into Captain Keynes, and she tries to explain or ask about her daughter, all that stuff. They have a conversation with each other. He just mentions, listen, there's bigger priorities than you. Their daughter's safe somewhere else, which he's happy about. And he's just focusing on getting the people off the planet right now. So he's not trying to deal with this personal shit. So anyway, back to the, civilian transport, trying to get that away. When he gets on the transport and tries to take off, turns out the cables are still attached to the ship, so it can't take off. And at this same moment, a bunch of Jekylls start an attack. They completely decimate the Marines and are pretty much taking over the platform. So Keynes gets off the transport, unhooks the cables, but unfortunately is surrounded by a shitload of Jekylls with mini swords on their shoulder. I think it's kind of stupid. Why haven't they just got their pistols that they usually have, their plasma pistols? I don't get the small energy swords. Okay. Anyway, so Captain Keyes is surrounded. He's now released the cables. So if Perez launches, she's going to pretty much blow up the fuel around Keynes, killing him. But she needs to get those people out of there. Otherwise, Jekyll's going to get on the ship and kill them all. So he sacrificed his life. By the way, if you see in the background, you can see a shitload of Marines just running past. Which is so fucking stupid. Why are the Marines not going in there to help Captain Keyes? I was thinking that they were going to pop in. Or the Chief was going to run in. No. Oh my god, this scene is so fucking stupid. He gets surrounded by Jekylls and he's just left to his fate. Like, what the fuck? I know in a previous scene, because I should have mentioned this scene, whilst the Chief's on the bridge and the attack on the platform is happening, the Chief gets called back to defend the transport and help, with the civilians' evacuation. So he leaves the Marines to sacrifice their lives to stop the elites getting to the base, and so he heads up with his group to head up there. So Captain Keyes, oh my lethal! Again, this scene is just so stupid in so many ways. But so Captain Keyes sacrifices his life because Perez activates the transport and fires up the ship, and they fly off. And so she blows up Captain Keyes and the Covenant around him, and killing Captain Keyes, which is a canon-breaking death. He is not supposed to die like that. He's supposed to die infected by the fucking virus. He's supposed to be killed like by the Chief when he pulls out that fucking thing from his head on the first game. He's not supposed to die like this. He's supposed to being infected by the Flood. So this is such a stupid fucking scene. That should have not happened. And again, I can't not mention this enough. There are about 100 Marines running past, doing jack shit. It is such a stupid fucking scene. So Perez gets away with civilians. Chief sees, and Halsey sees, Keyes dies. And then the Chief sees Halsey, and when he kind of realises it's Halsey, they then get attacked again by Covenant forces, with also the Arbiter leading them, and they have a massive firefight where the Chief then sees his girlfriend and gets frozen for a little bit, and then the Chief has a one-on-one fight with the Arbiter, and the Arbiter is kind of struggling with the Chief, but then he gets the upper hand because one of the elites shoots John in the ribs with a plasma pistol, and as the Arbiter is supposed to be a very honourable warrior, he cuts the elite's heads off because he interrupted the fight. But this elite isn't that fucking heroic or honourable, because he then goes to try to stab John while he's on the floor, but the Chief's girlfriend calls him off and she just walks off with Cortana in her hand, by the way. Seriously, the most important AI humanity has, and they're just letting her walk away with it. It's so fucking stupid. But then, before the Arbiter can escape, Vanek grabs a needler, shoots at the Arbiter. He kind of pulls out the needler round that hit him and grabs Vanek and hits him in the chest with the needle round, and it blows up in the guy's chest and he dies. I thought it was an okay death scene. He fought like a Spartan, but I just feel that if he had been in his armour, it would have been a better scene. And the episode ends with John seeing his friend die, his girlfriend leave, and the Arbiter leave, and it looks like it's a massive failure that the Chief has just allowed to happen. And that's how the episode ends. Again, there are great parts of this episode. I love the street fights. I do love some of the combat scenes, but the law-breaking death, the canon-breaking fact that they have taken Cortana, the fact that this seems to be leading into a new, crappier version of Halo, how they're going to find the ring and everything, it's a problem for me. That's why I'm not giving this a bigger number than 5. I think this episode could have been done better. I think this episode should have been done better. But I do commend the writers and the directors for the fact that they did have some okay fight scenes. But that's the best I can do. So I am disappointed, but this is the best episode we've gotten so far. So that's it, unfortunately. Do I think this show has got a future getting a season 3? I still think that's not going to happen. I still think it's not going to happen. I'm sorry. I think it's too little too late. And that's just their fault, unfortunately. And so, it's a 5 out of 10. Okay episode, but the future does not look bright for this show. And that's the end of my review. If you like this review, give it a like. If you dislike this review, give it a dislike. And if you like my content, do think about subscribing, and and I will try to get back to any comments that you leave underneath. Entertainment Soldier, bye.